Hello, guys. Today, I am doing something I have never tried to do in my life. Ever. I am delving into the realm of reviews. Today, it's going to be a video game review, but I will be doing other reviews as well. Yes, this will be a very interesting experience, to say the very least. Now, those of you who are watching me and are the sort of people who watch video game YouTubers regularly will probably find this video pretty rudimentary. That is because I have none of the equipment or, quite frankly, the time to sit down and review and record a lot of footage of a video game, and I have no idea how to edit either. But I will be trying that for the first time today as well. Today is just full of new experiences for me. I hope that this video does not epically fail. So, without further ado, let's start my review. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, by the way. So, The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. Where do I start? This game is, in many ways, a lot like other Zelda games. You play as a boy named Link, wearing that iconic green outfit on an adventure to save the land of Hyrule and its princess, Zelda. For those of you who didn't know, who weren't aware, yes, the player character's name is Link, not Zelda. Now, in theory, this game sounds a lot like the other games in the series, like Ocarina of Time or A Link to the Past. In fact, this game does share a lot of similarities with A Link to the Past, like having the ability to go between a light and a dark world, the same overhead two-dimensional game engine, and even the same overworld map. But in many ways, this game is very different. A major change to the game, besides the obvious, like updated graphics, is the ability to merge it into the wall and turn into a painting. This mechanic has got to be one of the coolest things Nintendo has ever come up with. Merging makes many dungeon puzzles different because almost all the dungeons, if I'm not mistaken, are lifted from A Link to the Past. The boss fights have been changed as well, especially the final boss. A Link Between Worlds starts out with the boy Link sleeping too late, which normally happens in video games. He has to deliver a sword to the captain of the guard, who has gone to the sanctuary, Hyrule's place of worship. This is where Link meets Yuga, our antagonist, who is most definitely a man. Seriously, he kind of looks like a girl. It's weird. He's a guy though. Anyway, Yuga turns Cerise, the priest's daughter, into a painting, then runs off. Link heads off to tell Princess Zelda about this weirdness, and she, in turn, asks him to go to 3 dungeons to get the Pendant of Virtue so he can get the Master Sword, the legendary blade of evil's bane that heroes in the past have used to defeat evil. Some other stuff happens, like the introduction of Princess Hilda, Zelda's Lorule counterpart, Lorule itself, which functions as the Dark World in this game, and it's a parallel universe to Hyrule. And, of course, Ganon, the big bad of the Zelda series, makes an appearance. But I'm not going to tell you everything because this is a relatively recent game. It came out in 2013. And I'm sure there are still a lot of people who haven't played it yet. As I mentioned before, this game has an overhead or top-down two-dimensional game design. So it's like you're seeing the tops of the characters' heads. A lot of Zelda games have used this format, like the very first one, A Link to the Past, or the Oracle series. But, oh wait, I lost my place on my script. This game doesn't have the in-depth sword fighting like the recent 3D games have had, and the items are used a bit differently because there's no first-person perspective options for weapons like the bow, but it's not that hard to get used to. This game also has a lot of dungeons, more than any I've played in any Zelda game up to this point. What's really nice, though, is that you can do the second and third dungeons in any order, and the Lorule dungeons in any order as well. Except you have to do the Thieves' Hideout before the Desert Palace, because you can't get an item called the Sand Rod until you beat that one, the first one. Which leads me to another point, the item system. Unlike traditional Zelda games, where you get almost every single weapon and item inside a dungeon, you rent items. Early on in the game, after you first meet Yuga, you run into Ravio, a strange boy. I think he's a teenager. Anyway, you run into Ravio, Our purple-wearing bunny mask friend who takes up residence in your house and will rent you items. Eventually, you can buy items, but until then, you have to deal with having to go back to your house and getting them back after you die. That stupid bird of his always takes them back from you. There's also no magic meter in this game, or even a way to run out of bombs or arrows. There's no ammo, for lack of a better word, at all. Instead of that, we get the energy gauge, a purple meter at the bottom of the screen that goes down a bit every time you use a Ravio item, like your bow, the elemental rods, or the bombs. It does restore itself over time, though, unlike the magic meter. This also extends to your wall merge ability, because the entire reason you get the ability to merge into walls is because Ravio gives you something that accidentally saves your life. I suppose this makes things a bit harder in order to make up for the lack of the need to fill up on ammo for certain items, but it's nothing ridiculously difficult. I really like this item system. It's very interesting, and it would be cool if we had something like it in future Zelda games. Maybe not, having to get your items back every time you die. Anyway, the music, as always, is extremely good. I don't think there's actually ever been a single Zelda game where the music is terrible. Seriously. It doesn't happen. You don't see that happening. There isn't a playable instrument in this game unless you count the bell used for the quick travel system, but you don't actually play it like you play the Ocarina in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, or the Wind Waker in the Wind Waker. The art style is a bit unimpressive. It's not horrible, but it's not awesome and amazing. I guess you could say it's got the kind of cartoony, semi-realistic thing going on, like in the N64 games. But it's not like the Wind Waker where you had like the cool kind of like animated looking thing that it had going on, or like Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword, which looked like realistic. But it's not like going to ruin the it pales in comparison when you compare it to other games. It's not going to ruin the whole game for you still, but I mean, at least it didn't for me, but it's not the greatest. So my final thoughts on this game are that it's excellent. That's pretty much all I have to say. There are a few things I don't like, such as having to get your items back every time you die, or the ice ruins the dungeon. But overall, this is a well-made Zelda game with interesting gameplay and a new and different story. I recommend to every Zelda fan who has not yet played it, and heck, I think this might even be one of the better games to introduce newcomers to the series. So guys, that was my first game review. Thank you for sticking around this long, and tell me what you think. Bye.